Hi everyone, welcome back. We are rerouting one of my Tuesday Taylor dolls. So I feel kind of bad ruining her hair, so I went ahead and I bought this very TLC Tuesday Taylor doll. I believe she is the suntan version. Her hair is so fried, it's practically two dreadlocks that stick out at the sides. We are rerouting this scalp, but putting it on my Mint Tuesday Taylor. So, moving on to the hair, I want my Tuesday Taylor to be a redhead. I also want her to be sort of authentic looking. I went and bought a cinnamon doll and a Chrissy doll for their ponytails. These dolls were also made by Ideal, just like Tuesday Taylor was, and the ponytails are quite long in comparison to Tuesday Taylor. So this is Cinnamon's hair and this is Chrissy's hair. So two different shades of red. Chrissy's is a little longer. So I was actually going to go with Cinnamon's hair only, but then Ollie said he preferred Chrissy's hair, which is a bit darker, more of an auburn colour. So I decided, since Tuesday's already two-toned, why not do both? In order to keep this as cheap as possible, I purchased the most TLC and cheapest Chrissy and Cinnamon dolls that I could. I've tried to tame the hair. Cinnamon's is a little bit frizzy at the ends, but as we are cutting it to thigh length, that should cut off most of the frizziness. So I think this is going to take a fair bit of time, so let's jump straight into it. The first step is to remove the scalps. I was not sure on how to do this, so I contacted my friend John. I believe his name on Instagram is Dolljunk. He told me that it is just a matter of heating up the scalp and pulling it off. So let's give that a go. I have turned Tuesday's scalp on its side just so that it gets a full blast from the hairdryer, and I have wrapped her hair in some paper towel to prevent it from melting. It came off quite easily, but the hair is tangled around the mechanism inside. So now we are going to remove the hair, but first I am removing one plug just so that I can count the amount of strands in each plug. And then taking a needle, I'm just going to remove the loops of hair from the inside of the head. This takes quite a long time. It's one of the longest parts of the reroot, I think. And I'm quite particular, so I like to remove every single last strand of the original hair. And there we have a clean scalp. Some of the part plugs are merged, so I'm going to do double thickness for those. Okay, so before we get into the reroot, I just want to show you a quick demonstration of how the rerouting process works. We have some card here with some holes punched out. That represents the head. Then we have some yarn, which represents the plugs of hair, some thread in order to pull those plugs through, and a needle. So you can place the thread just over. If you feel like that isn't secure enough, you can do what I do, which is to loop the thread and then pull the tail ends through and then pull it secure. Thread the needle, then we get our head, put the needle through, pull that plug of hair through to the other side. Repeat the process. We go to the next plug hole. This time we're actually going to make sure that the needle goes through the loop of the previous plug. So we pull that through, and then we can either snip or pull off that thread there, and then we go to the next plug through the loop, and then you can also tighten the other plugs. The plug isn't only held in by the adjacent plug, but it actually loops around and has a wider surface area, which also anchors and prevents it going through the tiny hole. Continuing along through the looped plug, remove the thread, and holding this thread here, tighten that plug. Okay, and when you've gotten to the last plug, you still feed it through but instead of tightening the other one, you're going to tie a knot and kind of join those two plugs together, double or triple. And then when that is done, you add some super glue, you wait for that to dry, and then you pull the two plugs through at the same time. And that just anchors those two plugs together. And there is your completed reroot from the inside and the outside. So I'll put this down to protect the chair from the needle that I'll use to separate the strands. I'll give it a quick brush through, remove this piece of rope, then I put it over my chair and I kind of fan it out a bit. Using my needle, I just count out the strands. You could just go off like appearance, like whether it looks like it's enough for a plug, and kind of just section off a large chunk at a time. But like, I'm not good yet at guesstimating plug size, so I'm just going to count, which is tedious, but that works for me. 1, 2, 3, 24, 25. Once I've done that, I take a bit of thread. So I take my thread, I double it over. So I've got a loop and I feed that under the hair at the center. I take the tails of the loop and I feed it back through the loop and then tighten. We pull that down and away and we have one plug ready to go. Okay, so now we're actually rerouting the head. So I've threaded the needle and I'm putting the needle through the scalp. Try not to stab your finger like I do. And I'm just jiggling the needle around just to open up the hole a little bit more. As you can see, it is still extremely tight and my fingers were red raw and peeling for days after doing this reroot. So we're just threading the next plug through the loop of the first plug and pulling that through, cutting the thread of the first plug, and then while holding the second plug, pulling that first plug through the other side. Again, jiggling the needle around to open the hole up a little bit. Through the loop of the previous plug. So that one gave way really easily and came right through, so I'm just pulling it back through a little bit, cutting the thread and pulling the previous plug through to the other side. So as you can see, we have done most of the plugs. We're up to the last one. So the second last one is hanging out there with the thread attached, and we're just going to pull that last one through, tying the knot, and then we are putting some glue on for real this time. Okay, and the head is fully rooted, so I'm just parting the part. So I'm just running a needle through the center of the plugs, trying to get it as even on each side as possible. And then when we get to the separated part, I'm just going to do some regular thatching, so just crossing a few strands from each side over to the other side. And there is the completed reroot. Now I'm going to cut the hair. I'm just going to do 1 inch to begin with, so I'm laying down this piece of masking tape to protect the table, and another piece to hold the hair down. So this is a bit wonky, but I am going to go back in and just give that a little trim. And then the other side. Now this side, you may notice, looks a bit thinner, but it is actually just more straight because I did take a hair straightener to it. I tested it on a small area first, but it worked quite well and it's made the hair quite smooth and silky. Now we are going to set the hair. So we're going to dip the hair in the boiling hot water. That will make it more malleable. And then we set it in place with the ice cold water. Now this has the added benefit of shrinking the plug holes, as you can see with this doll here. And that helps to hold the hair in place. Okay, so now it's time to reattach the scalp. And now it's time for the reveal. So this is the final result of the Reroot. I was going to cut it at knee length and then curl it a bit, but Ollie said that he preferred it the longer length because it made her more unique. Basically, she is a Totally Hair Tuesday doll. Totally cool. And I have her wearing a fashion which I made myself and which will be available in my Etsy store, linked below. So I believe I said previously that the inside of the head was not as clean as I would have liked. But apart from the thread, compared to the original scalp, it's actually a lot cleaner inside. So I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. This is my first ever completed Reroot and I'm really happy with it. But as you could probably tell, I am not an expert in this at all. I will link you to some of my favorite doll one-of-a-kind artists and rerooters down below. I will say this, it is not easy. After doing this, I'm not sure I'll be doing too many reroots in the future. All up, this took me about 3 or 4 days. I'll just show you how her head turns around and she has a different color underneath. Yeah, on this side, the hair doesn't come as close to the hairline, so it does look a bit strange. If any Reroot artists are watching this video, let us know if I've done anything wrong or if there's anything I could have just done to make life easier for myself. I'm sure everyone watching would love to read that, and I do encourage everyone to check out the comments below. If there are any hints or tips, I will pin them so that they appear at the top of the comment section. Cousin it. Alright, so that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you all next time. See ya.